Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and misunderstood therapies in modern recovery and regenerative medicine: hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBOT for short. Now, for decades, hyperbarics was viewed as a niche treatment, mostly associated with scuba divers, wound care. But over the last several years, that perception has changed dramatically. Today, HBOT is being explored for traumatic brain injury, post-concussion syndrome, long COVID, chronic inflammation, neuropathy, athletic recovery, stroke recovery, cognitive performance, and the list goes on. It's even associated with healthy aging, and that's what's fascinating. The more we learn about oxygen, circulation, inflammation, and cellular repair, the more hyperbaric therapy makes physiologic sense. Because at the end of the day, the body can't heal without oxygen. And modern life creates a lot of people walking around with tissues that are inflamed, stressed, oxygen deprived, and metabolically inefficient. So today I want to talk about what hyperbaric therapy actually does, why it's expanding rapidly beyond traditional uses, why off-label does not mean ineffective, and why many experts believe hyperbaric oxygen therapy is only beginning to show us its full potential. So what actually is hyperbaric oxygen therapy? At its core, hyperbaric oxygen therapy involves breathing concentrated oxygen in a pressurized chamber. That increased pressure allows oxygen to dissolve directly into plasma at levels far beyond what happens under normal atmospheric conditions. And that matters because oxygen is involved in nearly every healing process in the body. We're talking about cellular energy production, circulation, tissue repair, immune activity, inflammation regulation, stem cell signaling, and brain metabolism. So hyperbarics is not simply getting extra oxygen, it's creating an environment where the body can perform repair work more efficiently. And in many chronic conditions, repair is exactly what is stalled. One thing that confuses patients is the phrase off-label. But off-label does not mean experimental nonsense. In medicine, off-label use is incredibly common. Physicians use therapies off-label all the time when physiology supports it, research is emerging, and clinical outcomes are encouraging. Many treatments that are standard today started off-label at first. And that's how medicine evolves. Hyperbaric therapy has already been FDA approved for several conditions, including diabetic wounds, radiation injury, crush injuries, carbon monoxide poisoning, decompression sickness, and others. Those approvals alone prove HBOT has powerful biologic effects. But clinicians began noticing something really important. Patients were improving in areas beyond the official indications, and that sparked an explosion of research. One of the most exciting areas is brain health. The brain is incredibly oxygen dependent. Even subtle disruptions in blood flow, inflammation, and oxygen delivery, mitochondrial function, can create major symptoms. That's why HBOT has gained so much attention for things like post-concussion syndrome, traumatic brain injury, cognitive dysfunction, long COVID or brain fog, stroke recovery. Some patients who have struggled for years with headaches, memory problems, and fatigue, concentration issues, they've experienced significant improvements in these conditions after hyperbaric therapy. Now, does that mean it works for everyone? Well, of course not. Nothing in medicine does. But the growing body of evidence supporting neuroplasticity and brain recovery is one of the most exciting developments in healthcare right now. For years, people were told the brain can't recover. We now know that that simply is not true. The nervous system is far more adaptable than we once believed, and oxygen appears to be playing a major role in supporting that recovery process. Another reason HBOT is gaining momentum is because so many chronic conditions share common underlying problems: inflammation, poor circulation, oxidative stress, impaired cellular metabolism, just to name a few. Hyperbaric therapy helps to initiate angiogenesis through several cell signaling mechanisms. That means new blood vessel formation, mitochondrial efficiency, tissue oxygenation, inflammation recovery, collagen collagen production, and cellular repair signaling. This is why HBOT is now being explored in sports recovery, regenerative medicine, neuropathy programs, chronic pain clinics, and longevity medicine. Athletes especially have become interested because recovery is everything. The body adapts when it has the resources to repair, and oxygen is one of the most important resources the body has. One major turning point for hyperbarics was long COVID. Millions of people suddenly developed symptoms including fatigue, brain fog, exercise intolerance, autonomic dysfunction, inflammation, and many conventional answers were limited. Researchers began looking at HBOT because it addresses several systems simultaneously: oxygen delivery, circulation, inflammation, neurologic function. Early studies have been very encouraging, not because HBOT is a magic cure, but because it appears to support foundational physiologic recovery mechanisms. That distinction really matters. Hyperbarics is not replacing the body's healing ability. What it's doing is helping create conditions where healing can occur more efficiently. I believe HBOT is growing because medicine is shifting toward a more functional understanding of health. For decades, healthcare focused heavily on symptom suppression, medication management, and crisis intervention. And it's done really well at those. But patients increasingly want to know, how do we improve the actual function of the tissue? That's where regenerative and recovery-focused therapies come into play. And hyperbarics fits naturally into that model, because oxygen affects nearly every system in the body. The more we understand mitochondria, vascular health, inflammation, and neuroplasticity, the more relevant hyperbaric oxygen therapy becomes. So, is the evidence perfect? Well, no, it isn't, and it never will be for every condition. Medicine rarely works that way in any field. Some conditions already have strong evidence. Others are emerging, but one mistake people make is assuming that if something isn't fully mainstream yet, it must not work. Many therapies took years or decades before broader medicine caught up. What matters is this: biologic plausibility, safety, and clinical outcomes, and continued research. HBOT continues to generate all four of those. So, what should patients expect? It's important to be realistic. Hyperbaric therapy is not usually a one session and your life changes overnight. Healing takes time, especially when dealing with chronic inflammation, neurologic injury, vascular compromise, or long-standing degeneration. Most meaningful hyperbaric programs involve consistency. The body heals in layers, but many patients notice improvement in energy, mental clarity, sleep, recovery, inflammation, stamina, and overall function. And for some patients, the changes can be absolutely life-altering. I believe we are only scratching the surface of what hyperbaric therapy may actually become. As research continues, I expect HBOT to become increasingly integrated into neurologic recovery, sports medicine, regenerative medicine, functional medicine, longevity programs, and performance optimization. Because oxygen is not alternative medicine, it's fundamental biology. And when we improve the environment in which cells function, remarkable things can happen. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy represents something bigger happening in healthcare. It's a shift towards supporting the body's ability to recover, adapt, and heal, not simply masking symptoms, and not simply waiting for decline, but actively improving the conditions that allow the body to function at higher levels. And I think that's one of the most exciting frontiers in medicine today. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody interested in recovery, performance, brain health, or regenerative medicine. And I'll see you next time.